implementation on core banking systems. Yeah, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia?
Hi everyone, my name is Sylvia Mochabo. I am the founder and CEO for Tech Hub Holdings, where I operate 3 subsidiaries, that is Tech Hub Creations, Tech Hubs, Tech Events, and Tech Hub Enterprises, and many other things. I'm supposed to say all of them, or that's sufficient. I think that's good enough for now. Let's keep it at that. Yeah.
Yeah. Topi?
Hi everyone, I'm Topi Muga. I am currently the founder and CEO of a company I just formed 1 month ago called Prosper Advisory, which is a platform for connecting people who are looking for advice to those who can give advice. So watch this space on the launch soon. Before that, I've been working in the technology space for 15 and a half years. And I was just reflecting on how the journey has been. First 7.5 were in IT, starting with programming, support, team leadership, and then decided to do an MBA. And after that, I focused a lot on the product management side. So really coming up with new solutions. So I worked for Vodafone on M-Pesa, so really taking M-Pesa to the rest of the world beyond Kenya, to Eastern Europe and the rest of Africa. Also worked in Airtel as the head of Airtel Money, and very recently, for the last 3 years, I've been working for Visa as the senior director for financial inclusion for Sub-Saharan Africa. So it's been an interesting journey in technology in different facets of what technology could do, and now working on a startup using technology to connect mentors and mentees.
Last but not least, Ayan.
Hello, so my name is Ayan Kenan. I'm a student at Strathmore University. A 4th year doing computer science and informatics. I see we all have really great stuff to say here. I'm particularly impressed with all your CVs and your, whatever you guys have just said right now. I'm very impressed, and I look forward to learning from you guys.
So I should also add, I'm very impressed by the few of us who've turned on their cameras, and I think I should turn mine off. Clearly working from home, I've decided to let loose too much. All right, so to kick off, probably let me just start off with Anita and I guess you two could take this question. What is your biggest success and your biggest learning opportunity so far?
Okay, I can start off with that one. So generally for me, I find success, my definition of success is finding your purpose as to why you exist, why you will endure with the talents that you do. And for me as a graphic designer and a brand consultant, after working for a while and finally starting my own business, I think now in the 10th year as a self-employed person, I started my foundation called Annie Speaks for Special Needs Persons, which aligns with my journey as a parent for special needs children. And I'm using my talent as a graphic designer and my skills of the digital platform to advocate and raise awareness for special needs children. So listening to that inner voice that comes to you and you're not sure if you should take it, not take it. So when you actually embrace it and then you find you've just aligned your life and your purpose here on earth, that for me defines success. And at the same time, there are things in life that we go through and you never understand why, then it comes to make sense. For example, like in my journey, I was given responsibilities as a Rotarian under the side of PR. When I started my career, I was hawking the streets. So from there, I learned sales and resilience. And in my employment section, I learned about management and industry. So success is generally picking up for me all these experiences and amalgamating it into one thing that now I can live every day and go to bed knowing I've made a difference in the world.
All right, I think, thank you, Sylvia. I think I'll piggyback on one of the things that you mentioned around success. I also cannot like give one or pick one of the different lessons that I've gone through in my career and in my personal life so far as success. Just one of, but it's a number of experiences that I've gone through that I can term as success. First of all, I'm a mother of two beautiful children. I have Natalie and Liam. So they usually drive me a lot in terms of what I pursue, both in my personal life and in my professional life. But I think one of the greatest learning opportunities I've had, and I still have right now, and I can count it as a learning opportunity, is my current job. I actually love what I do right now. Getting into the digital space at this particular time has been very, very exciting. A lot of learning lessons, both as a person and even as an organization. And being in the middle of that, going through the ups and downs of that, have really made me look at the digital space very differently. And I can term that as one of the great successes that I have right now, and learning points. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anyone would like to add anything before we move on?
I would like to just to add on what they've shared. For me, success has been one of those things where you really have to trust yourself and test your limits to be able to, do the things that you really want to do. I remember just when Sylvia was talking right now, and I was thinking about finding your purpose. It's one of those things you almost don't find it. When you're turning 5, you're like, yeah, now I know my purpose. It's a journey of introspection, reflecting, and trying to understand what does the experiences that you come across in life translate to. And that then leads to, do you really trust yourself and the capabilities that you have, the talent that you've been given, to actually then test your limits and be successful and venture out into things that scare you the most. I remember in my career journey going to one of my bosses and saying, look, I want that job, being very courageous and saying, can I get that job? I want to be the project leader. How I got the Vodafone job, I wrote an email to Michael Joseph, again, trusting myself and testing the limit. So for me, those are things when I think journey to actually progress.
Okay, thank you. What do you think we need to do more here or more to career in security?
Okay. Personal take is that, as I think because we're so hats, you kind of, the role of mentorship is not one that we easily fall on. It's not something that everybody thinks, I need to mentor the one behind me. And I found that for most, in my career, people look at you, oh, you're in IT. And it's like, wow, that's a man's world. And I don't think IT would have that look if we had the time when, ladies make it look like, we're not suffering. I think that's, the way the world looks at IT. Women are coding, you can't sleep, you're going to be a mess, or you're just some super genius and you're no one's friend. I mean, it's full of stereotypes. And I think it's time we break those, walls and talk about, it's a balance. You can bring the femininity into a male dominated industry, and you don't have to be a man to make it. Okay. So I think we need to bring the other side of it, the softer side. Okay. So, because I think the men have made it, it's very buff and rough and tough. And there's not so much of the female gentle side where, you know, you can work, you can make it, and you don't have to make noise. I think that's the other thing, because I think the male ego, you know, this is what I've done. I'm sorry, you're the only guy here that I can see, but I'm not attacking, you know, the male species. But, you know, that's just how, you know, you guys do things. And for us ladies, it's more laid back, you know, you're looking at, okay, and I also have this, like, I'm a mom, and so I have to think about my home life. And so I may not make IT look glamorous because, you know, I'm thinking of so many things and weighing so many options. So it's just something that we need to just take it out there and make it look good for the woman. And it's okay. It can look different. It doesn't have to be, you know, from a male perspective. That's my take on that.
Okay, so you've brought up something quite interesting. 2 points actually. One is juggling your role as a woman and also your career, which now, especially now that we are all working from home,
Yeah.
first of all, I guess you're all juggling it pretty well, those who are on video. So probably just, if all of you could just briefly just tell me what's been your biggest challenge working from home?
I think on my side, it's like those ones that you don't really think about because, okay, it's not the norm. Considering I have a teenage boy, and then I have 2 special needs children. So the first thing was the change was almost nerve-wracking because they take longer to adjust. Like if you change their shift, everything goes downhill. And being a perfectionist, I was so used to having a schedule, like everything is written to detail. Like yesterday, I was supposed to be out of the house at 10. My son wakes up with this meltdown that lasted an hour. That means everything else is off the window. But you see, we as women, we have learned how to embrace and navigate through it because you can't use that as an excuse because that's what everyone else will always say. Oh, you're a woman, that's why you're late because you had to. So you have to punch above your weight and navigate your way through it. What I always say is when change comes, take your time to realign, readjust, look at things, and then plan. Only by planning then is it that you'll be able to embrace what is happening and find a new way. And as much as you'll be down for a while, just don't wallow in there. Like, oh my God, this is not happening. Because like for my industry, we were the first ones to be hit. I took 1 week to mourn because our entire April was messed up. All our events, all our big deals were in April. But then you see, if you continue sitting there and not looking forward to what you're going to do next, then you're not going to have a lot of progress. So I always say, like, be prepared, see beyond what is now, and realign yourself to make the best and the most out of what life has given you. I always say, if life gives you lemon, well, grab a gin and make a gin and tonic.
Yeah. So my case has been slightly different. Having worked for SAP for a couple of years, I've always had the leisure of working from home. So I am already used to this kind of scenario, and it has just worked well for me, except that I am in meetings the whole time. So from morning till evening, you're just in meetings. But one of the things that I did, because of my demanding job, I empowered my nanny. So I've empowered my nanny with different life skills and courses. She drives, she does everything. Actually, basically for the last 5 years, she's been with me. And I have 2 children. One is 2, the other one is 4. So you can imagine how it is if you need to work from home. So because I've empowered her and she knows exactly what she needs to do, carry out the homeworks, carry out the webinars with the little one while I juggle my meetings. So I guess this has been a lot of support for me. So I do not feel like I'm overwhelmed because I have empowered my support system. And yeah, for me, it's just exciting being at home 24/7 without having to travel every week to some country. So for me, it's exciting. I'm loving it, definitely.
Nita?
All right, maybe I can talk about myself. So for me, my team has been working fully at home for the past month, but I juggle between the office and home. So working at home now with both kids at home is and a dog for that matter can be a bit stressful, because everyone wants your attention, including the dog. But I make it work. First of all, I'm an early bird, so by the time I wake up, the kids are up. I actually have done a lot of work in the morning, and at least my kids are a bit controllable because my last one is 6 years old. So I'm able to tell them, shh, mama is working, or, keep quiet, or I send them out to play. Yeah, so far so good. However, I miss just the company of people in meeting rooms, some of the things that we've been taking for granted. Yeah, that's the only thing I miss, the social angle of the office. Yeah.
Okay. Topi?
For me, it's been an interesting transition. First of all, in my previous work at Visa, I did a lot of remote working because I was covering the whole region. So many times I will have to be on calls with people in different countries. So I had sort of formed that habit of being able to work online. And then I don't have any children. So it's my husband and I. So he wakes up, starts his calls in the morning. I start my calls on my startup with the developers. And I quite like there's something Shirley mentioned, that in my previous, having had a really demanding job, lots of travel, 75% of the time, one of the things that helped me was to really get a good help. And we went into extent of having a contract, a detailed job description, a work schedule, a menu plan. So that transition was easy because this person was still able to actually still take care of those things. Obviously, there was a bit of adjustment in the house when everyone is talking on the phone loudly. We had to create space. My niece has been visiting. So I'm actually enjoying working from home, and the fact that I had left work and started working from home as I work on my startup, it was a smooth transition. Again, also missing the social element, meeting people out there for coffee, lunch, catch-ups, that piece is missing. And the way I'm trying to manage it, we are trying to have like virtual catch-ups online with people, like let's have tea, and everyone puts their tea and you're all online having your tea together. I have another one coming up at 7 with friends in London. So that's how I'm sort of taking care of the social part with all this working from home.
That's great. Renee, you mentioned earlier on something to do with the type of language in which the male species in IT communicates and how the ladies communicate. And earlier on today morning, I was reading about passive and active language. And do you think that affects the progression of someone's career? And this, again, I'd like to throw to all the panelists.
Maybe I can start with my personal experience. Presently, I am the only female in my department, and it was very intimidating because I was at the point where I was re-entering. I had been working from home, and I had not really, I was taking care of my children who are now big. My youngest now is 8. And so it was a re-entry period, and you get in there and it's just, so she's here, that kind of atmosphere. And it's not very friendly, and it can be very unnerving. And you feel like, okay, so what am I going to contribute here? And should I even contribute because they don't see me? And I think that's one of the challenges that, most of us will end up taking a back seat and just be quiet, be like a good wife, even in the office, so to speak. And so it's a, it's a challenge. So yes, it does affect, because I think if your personality and your character is not the, okay, I'm gonna also hold the bull by its horns and I'm gonna fight through this, I think you will kind of fizzle away into the background. But you need to have developed the characteristics and the strengths to be able to stand your own. And I think that's where, especially in re-entry, because you start to feel that, okay, maybe I'm not competent enough, maybe I'm not well versed enough, maybe there's so many gaps in my knowledge and I just don't know. But as you take on tasks, just take them on without asking, what can I do? Should I do this? Not to be so, iffy, but to just take it on and say, okay, I'm going to do this. If I need help, I will let you know. And that also lets them know, like, oh okay, all right, she's okay. We'll not mess with her. So I think it totally has an effect. And if you've got to make the decision to change your personality or to change the way you do things just to do life, to be able to succeed.
Yeah, just to add on what Renee has said, when you're looking about building your resilience in the IT space, I'm also the only woman in my team. So we have 7 men and I'm the only lady. But one of the things that I've had to, work on over the years is, number one, building my mental toughness. So the EQ and the IQ. Because sometimes men claim women to be sensitive and they react differently than men and DTC, and I needed to understand, how do I need to react properly? How do I present myself? How do I recognize my power? So, and one of the things I did also is, first of all, not become the housekeeping lady in the office. So most of the time you'll find that the men want to send you for coffee or tea just because you're the only lady. And I'm like, dude, get me one as well on your way out, So you have to be, as a woman, you have to remember that you're not going to take a lesser position than the man. You should just take your seat at the table and don't give it up. Sometimes we tend to stand when there are too many men or somebody senior has come in. The women are the first to stand. Don't give up your seat. So knowing your strength, building resilience has been something that has really helped me a lot. And definitely going into one of the topics we want to talk about is having a male ally. So I have one of those who supports me by amplifying my voice. When I feel I need support, I definitely speak to him first, and I know in the meeting he will echo my idea or whatever I needed to say. So these are the things that have helped me juggle in my team, especially my all-male team. But I thank God because I'm somebody who's curious, so I try to be ahead of everything. So I try to develop myself at any point. So for example, every week I have I do 3 trainings, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's online, but I want to always stay ahead of the curve, always know what's happening, so that you're not the lady in the office who says nothing, who does nothing, or isn't aware of the industry trends. So yeah, so developing myself is something that I really enjoy, and it has helped me also, juggle these men at the workplace. Yeah, so to say.
Just to top that up, I think a lot about the EQ, and for me the key is always know your staff. Make sure you know everything, that there is no gap that will be used against you. Any question you can answer. If it's skill, top it up, be 10 miles ahead of everyone. You remember, everyone needs a she in the whatever space there is. So be that woman, like woo it and go through it, in that you level up, and confidence is key no matter what. Because it reminds me when I started my business and I go into this board meeting, and then guys are like, so where's the boss? I'm like, I'm the boss. And they look at you like, okay, first I'm disadvantaged because I'm small bodied. And they look at you like, excuse me, like, yeah. So now you have to prove yourself, because everyone already has this question of like, what's this young girl doing over here? Make sure you're confident and you know your stuff, and know it very well, like at your fingertips. I had to do it so well that by the time you start a sentence, I know what you've asked and I'll answer and I won't be wrong. So you also have to build the muscles of resilience in that space, and be like, speak up. Most of us always just like, you doubt yourself. No, you'll never know unless you say it. So say it proudly and loudly, and be heard. It's the only way that people will know you're in the room, especially when there's already that ambience of you've been prejudged and put down like, okay, what does she know, right?
Yeah.
So let your confidence and everything else cover and prove you right.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with all of us, all the sentiments that have been shared. And at the same time, you look the part. God has given us, we are beautiful women, we have beautiful hair, beautiful faces. So look the part. For me, I always wear my signature red lip for those who know me.
Me too.
Yeah. And when I don't, people are always, what's up, Anita? Are you okay? Yeah. So also look the part, you know your stuff, look the part, look professional in whatever engagement that you have. Right. And as I think as Sylvia has said, in regard to speaking up, look for programs that help you become more eloquent in your discussions, in your presentations. There are a lot of things like Toastmasters, something that we have at Innovation, where you go through a program where you're able to better your skills in terms of just speaking up and speaking your mind. And again, just what Charlie and Sylvia said around know your stuff. Read about whatever it is that whichever industry you're playing in, be on top of all the topics that are in the discussion points at the moment, whether it's digital transformation, whether it's IoT, all these new emerging technologies, at least know what they're all about, yeah, so that you can even feature in some of these conversations. And something I've realized that even the men that we work with, they have a lot of respect for a woman who knows their stuff. Yeah.
And just to add, I really like this topic because for me, looking at the experiences I've had, being one, like Sylvia mentioned, the youngest. I was one of the youngest managers in IT in my early days. The only female manager among the managers. So having gone through that journey, there are two takeaways that I would like to pass on for you to really work on. One of them is self-awareness, really spending a lot of time to have deep self-awareness. Because when you're self-aware, you will know why you behave the way you behave, why you don't speak up in a meeting. Is it because you're afraid? Is it because your upbringing was around those ones of a woman shouldn't talk? And once you're self-aware, and then you will be catching yourself doing the thing that you're not supposed to be doing, like shutting, keeping quiet in a meeting. You realize, oh, today I did not actually contribute at all in that meeting. So how do I make sure next time I can go and contribute? I prepare, I practice, I rehearse. When I go to that meeting, I will open my mouth and talk. So that deep self-awareness, there's a lot of different tests that you can do to be able to be more aware. One of my favorites is called the Strength Finder. So there's a book online you can buy, $30 to do the test, or buy the book from one of the bookshops around and do the test. And Strength Finder helps you really identify your strengths and make the best out of them. But it also highlights your blind spots so that you know where you're niching and you can work on building on those. And there's a couple of other strength tests that you can do to be just aware. And one of the things that I've been doing personally, because I've done many of those and every day learning more about myself, I go to Pinterest and I search my personality and how to deal with different situations. And there's a lot of ideas, like every day you keep learning. Then the second thing, apart from self-awareness, is something called executive presence. Now, executive presence is basically instilling confidence in others that you are the right fit for that job, you are the right partner for that partnership you're looking for, the right supplier if you're looking for a deal. And executive presence comes in 3 dimensions. The first dimension is called gravitas, which is basically what the ladies here have been talking about, knowing your staff. Know your staff 5 inches deep. Yeah, if someone throws you a question on cybersecurity, you should be able to answer, not to be thrown off balance. If someone throws you a question, for instance, in my case on digital financial services, I should be able to answer, not to be thrown off balance. So take the time to know your stuff through experience, through talking to the experts, through learning, through online courses, through going to events. Build that gravitas, because gravitas is one of the ways to be able to help you build your confidence. The second piece is how you communicate. Not all of us are equally gifted in how we communicate. So when you show up to do a presentation, there's one person who will be confident, eloquent, articulate, while there's another one who will be wondering, oh my God, they'll be shaking, they'll be nervous, and it will be visible. So how do you prepare beforehand to be able to communicate effectively for every different scenarios where you need to be able to communicate, whether it's on Zoom like this, whether it's a presentation in front of an audience, whether it's a meeting when you're looking for a deal, whether it's an email communication. I've even been seeing on Pinterest how you should write an email like a boss. Don't start with, sorry, I delayed to reply. You start by saying, thank you for your patience, you know? Those kind of things are how they contribute ultimately to how people view you and how you are seen in the world. Then the third bit on executive presence is about appearance. Yeah. Anita just talked about it. You need to dress the part. And many times we probably don't know, how do I really dress? Especially for ladies, one of the tips I can share, know your body shape. You might be thinking it's a joke, but it's really important that you think, you figure out, am I a pear-shaped, am I an hourglass, and you figure out what are the right outfits for your body shape, because those then bring out your appearance in the best way possible. You'll not be feeling uncomfortable because you want something that doesn't fit your body shape. So for me, those are the takeaways, and I think they're important as you build your name, as you build your brand, as you build your profession, as you build your career in technology.
Just to add on to what Toby said around dressing, I remember when I was in campus and probably the first years of working, because of course I did IT in campus, and there's a way we have a look, you know, with the jeans and t-shirts. Yeah, I remember this when my first job was actually at one NGO Online, and it was as a customer service executive, where we used to go and connect dial-up connections. And so we'd go on top of buildings trying to troubleshoot why certain modems are not working, etc. So because of also a nature of work, there's a way that we were supposed to have to be dressing, you know. So you find that also that same perception of how an IT chick looks like usually has taken a grasp of a lot of women. So you end up just looking plain, looking, you know, just drab. Yeah. So we also have to be very conscious about that, because some of us are still actually technical people, where we actually work with our hands, and we require to, you know, to even dress casually enough to be able to do some of these tasks. So we have to be very also cognizant of that and try our best to, depending now on where you're going. If you're going to you have a meeting in the office, look the part, put some lipstick. If you're out there in the trenches, have some lip gloss with you, so that at least you still look like the woman, beautiful women we are.
All right, so at this stage, I'd like to hand over to my co-moderator, Ayan, and she'll also be carrying out a few questions to the panel. Welcome.
So thank you, Mike. Because we have so many students here, and I feel like I should ask a student-based question. What advice would you give someone who is starting out after university, and they really want to, like, how do you scale up in organizations where it's hard to get promoted?
Maybe I would start with that. When I started, I was studying graphic design. I was working part-time to educate myself at the time. There is always this mentality of, if you went to Alliance, you have to be a doctor. Here comes this rebel who wants to do graphic design, something no one knew at the time. But the difference was, for me, I had looked ahead, and I knew this age was coming where everyone needs art and stuff. So even when you're in college, know exactly what it is that you want, and map out your journey, where you start, where you want to start from, and don't be picky. Most of the people who come knocking at my office always want to start from a certain point and not willing to do certain jobs. I started as a secretary, front desk, cleaning. I would clean, I would, you know, do the petty cash, do the banking and all that. And as I said earlier, all these small things build you up for a better manager earlier, because you cannot expect what, there is some skill sets that you will not be able to be at the top management unless you understand the process of what goes down on the lower levels. So embrace whatever opportunity comes. Don't be picky, but then now work your way. As you're also working this thing that is not aligned to what you are, be building yourself in that skill. At the same time, be participating and assisting in the department that you want to be, so that they know you're there. Right? And offer your time, offer yourself, even if it's an internship. All these things matter, because experience is not something you can buy. Experience is something that only takes being hands-on. So whatever opportunity you get, I'd say you need to grab it and go for it. Make sacrifices now for a better tomorrow.
Maybe we could take another opinion. Thank you for that.
Okay, I can go next. Maybe I can just talk about my journey. So after campus, I think the last year where we were supposed to go for a final attachment, and my final attachment was at Wananchi Online, now the Zuku at the moment. And even after campus, that was the only job I could get then. And I remember we used to be paid 6,000 shillings, and somehow we used to do a lot with that 6,000. We used to eat, dress, everything with that 6,000 shillings. And one of the lessons that I've learned in retrospect from that experience is that most of the time right now, people are looking to get a lot of money from the onset, which is not really the being realistic about our situations. We have to start from somewhere, however low it is, or even without any money. If that opportunity presents itself, take it and work as hard as you can. After that, I got into now consulting, and my first salary after that was, I think, 15,000. Yeah, so if I look back at how far I have come, it's been small steps, because I find a lot of us nowadays become very impatient and are not willing to take the journey of starting small and slow progressions until to that point where you feel that you've achieved both financially and also professionally. So be patient in the journey, take whatever it is that is available as work for you to be able to do. And again, don't wait to be employed. Yeah, so we find a lot of young professionals right now after campus, they expect to get a job. Yeah, so if before that job, that formal employment comes about, try to find jobs online, try to do things with your own hands. One of the things that I do as a hobby, aside from being a tech chick, is I bake. I bake a lot, and that has seen me start a small side hustle, which right now it's suffering because of work. I'm the chief baker, chief marketer, chief deliverer, all those things. So also try to find other ways of making an income, even as you pursue the technical angle of your career. And then just exert yourself, whatever small task that you get, whatever small job that you get, exert yourself, and that's how you grow in your career.
I would like to add on what Anita and Sylvia have said. When I finished high school, I actually moved to Germany. I didn't know the language, but I knew I had to study. So one of the things that made me want to study was the fact that, okay, I went to Alliance, sorry for saying that, and I needed to study. I did meet a couple of people who told me, oh, well, you don't really need to study in Europe. You can do whatever job that comes along and you'll be able to support yourself. But one thing I wanted a job at a German company, and the only way to get a good job was actually to study. So I had to learn the language. So one thing I would encourage you guys is be curious. Be curious and be like water, as Bruce Lee said. Learn to adapt. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to learn this language and I'm going to pass and do my bachelor's and master's. So I did my education in Germany, and I remember at that time, a lot of people told me, Shali, there's no way a German company or multinational will hire a Black girl and with a business degree. By the way, I do not have an IT background, but yeah, somehow I found myself in tech. So there were a lot of people discouraging me, but one thing that I did is ensure I had the right crowd around me to motivate me. So choose your friends wisely, people who will push you and who will not give up on you, but support you in whatever decision you want to make. So when I joined SAP, I applied for an internship position, and when I got it, the team manager told me, or the team leader told me they had never worked with a Black person. I was like, okay, well, now you're going to work with me. So it was just a 6-month internship at SAP, but trust me, I did my best. I was always a step ahead. I was the earliest in the office. I dressed as if I had the job. So because I remember what we used to learn in school, what you confess is what you possess. So I was eyeing a consulting job with SAP as a business process consultant. And I dressed the part, and they kept asking me, why are you always overdressed? I mean, you're an intern, you can wear your jeans, you can wear whatever you want to wear. But I say, no. In my mind, I was preparing myself for that role at SAP. So after the 6 months, I applied for a full-time position as a consultant. And I remember, again, I was the only African applicant. There were more than 30. But one thing that helped me ace the interview was the fact that I knew more than the manager. So at that particular time, SAP had just bought the product that I sell called Success Factors. They just bought off the company. And the manager who was hiring me as a consultant did not know that. So I did my homework. So I went to the interview and I told her, I believe I'm the right fit and what. And she kept telling me, yeah, but you have to be a native speaker and everything. But I said my German is good enough. So I believe I'll be the right fit for the job. And I asked her the question, what is the impact of this acquisition that you made? And she did not know there was an acquisition. She did not know it would have an impact on the team. And guess what? She had to give me the job. She just told me, you asked me something I couldn't answer, and I was embarrassed because I should have known as a manager. So always stay ahead of the game. Always know more than the other person or the next person. Don't listen to naysayers, those who will tell you, oh yeah, they will never hire you because you're a girl or you're Black or etc. Just apply for those jobs. You'll find out the answer after the interview. But if you don't take that initiative of applying for the jobs or finding out if that's your path, you would never know if they would ever take you. So I'd like to encourage you guys to be curious, to be like water, adapt in the situation. If water is put in a cup, yeah, it's in the shape of a cup. In a bottle, it's a different shape. So just be flexible to adapt and to learn, and be curious to even look for opportunities abroad. I came from the village in Taita, but I never thought that I would go to Germany. But yeah, I got there and then came back. So I encourage you to just open your mind and find out what's out there and how are these multinationals and other organizations running their IT businesses. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and just to add to the experiences the ladies have shared, I agree with all the thinking, because one of the experiences I've had, the first job I had was a contract. If I had refused that job and said, I'm not taking any contract jobs, it was a 6-month contract. I took it. Before the contract reached the end, I was already put on a probation for a full-time job. And that's because I worked hard, I did my part and did well. So whenever you get an opportunity, take it and do it really well. Whether it's paying you a lot of money or no money, just take it and get the experience and really do the best you can. The other bit that I can share is find mentors. Find mentors within the company, so you can have lunchtime conversations, tea break conversations. I remember when I was the youngest, IT manager and the only female manager among the IT managers. I actually went to the customer care director at that time in Airtel when I was working there, and asked her, look, what will you advise? And she had all this very useful advice to give, which I decided to apply, and it helped me. And then the other bit is also to always work towards a career growth plan. Think about where do you want to be and what will it take to get there. Personally, by the time I had done 7 years in IT, I worked in different roles. One of the things I was super keen on is I wanted to develop more my product management skills, and products, really digital products. How do you come up with something someone can use on the phone to solve a problem? And that required that I needed to understand a bit more about the business side of things. And I decided to resign. I went to France to do an MBA for a year. again, just being able to be bold enough and drop everything and take the break and go and study and understand better. After that, finding a product management role in a technology company. So things started falling into place. So to also try and just work on a plan and think through how do you execute the plan, even it, pray about it, talk to mentors, and really follow through and make it happen.
I'm sorry for that. I think there was someone who had left their mic on. Thank you to Krista for that. I mean, Topi, sorry. Does anybody else have any other comment regarding that question? Okay, so for the next question, I'd like to just ask you guys to probably tell us, and since you guys have been phenomenal ladies within the industry, maybe you can tell us some of the awards you guys have won, what kind of impact you guys have created in the different fields you are in. I'm sure all of us would really like to get that insight. Who's gonna go first?
Okay, I'll go first. One of the things that I'm passionate about is mentoring young women, young ladies, and young professionals in the IT space. So one of the things that I have done passionately is speak to these young people in my community. So I'm from Taita, and we do lack a lot of people with degrees or even in the tech space. So I'm very much active in my community and last year I was awarded an award for being, a leader in the tech space from Taita Taveta. And the reason being was, just organizing sessions with young people and even, people who are already in their careers, but just speaking to them, sharing my insights and, networking. So I think it's an awesome place to be. It's an awesome place to be able to uplift people from my community. And I would urge you guys to always remember to inspire the next generation, the people that come after you. Because as much as we all want women to take up STEM courses, we need to mentor them and guide them. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
For on my side, as much as sort of in the tech space, but more on the graphic design and application of technology to serve. But I embraced who I am, the lessons that I wanted that I've learned in my journey, and decided to give back to community through the same, both as a Rotarian, as a mother, through the journey as a special needs parent. I'm sure for those of us who saw the feature in Citizen, everyone keeps saying like, oh my God, I don't know how you do it. But God always gives you the grace to do everything that you can do. And for the work that I've done, I was being told by all the people in the space of, I'm not calling it NGO per se, but yeah, in the special needs and disability space, that whatever our foundation has done in the past year, because we're only 1 year active, is things that even companies haven't done in 10 years. So last year I got nominated for 3 awards by Top Women in Business. That was for CSR, for Giving Back Society, and Social Enterprise. Apart from that, earlier this year, I was the finalist for Zuri Awards 2020. They still don't understand what it is that we do, so they said we need to be reclassified. So I don't know what that means, but anyway, we got a recognition. And before COVID came, we were just about to go for the finals as a finalist nationally for what do you call this? Inclusion Champion Awards, DIAR, Diversity and Inclusion. And apart from that, I'm currently reigning as Miss Africa, Miss Africa Elite, Miss United Nations, and elite face of Africa. So I should be representing our continent in Canada if this thing stops in August. So we're just still waiting. All that is still the same when you're strategizing, because when I was starting my foundation, I went for Miss Africa to give me a platform so that people will be able to hear. Because one thing that most of the time I feel we fail is to plan. Everything you do, know why you're doing what you're doing. For me, I got into that competition because I knew it would give me the platform to get to the capacity that I can write to the First Lady and she will respond, to knock at a door and you'll be respected enough to get the audience of our leaders. So no, it's like chess. Plan your moves and then it will get you where you want to be. Yeah. Thank you.
I'll go next. A number of awards over the last 5 years, starting with the first one in 2015. I was IT Woman of the Year for Sub-Saharan Africa because of an innovation where we're able to link mobile wallet to Visa card. And then the year after, I was recognized for Stevie Awards. I got a gold award for IT Woman of the Year. Normally they look at different accomplishments, and then there's a panel, and then they choose the best. So I got that award in 2016. 2017 was an interesting one. I had 2 awards. One was I was recognized in the fintech space. Remember, the expertise I've built has been around digital financial services. So the fintech space, I was named one of the women in the power list for 2017. But in addition to that, there's a program that is usually run by the US State Department called Tech Women Program, where you apply, and if you're shortlisted, you get to go and spend 5 weeks in San Francisco in the different tech companies. So I got the Tech Women Award for 2017 among other applicants. And then 2018, I was recognized as one of the top 40 under 40 ladies in Kenya due to the various accomplishments in the industry. So definitely all these have been as a result of the different opportunities I've had and the roles I've played in IT in different perspectives.
Nice, good job, guys. For me, the recognition that I can speak about on this forum is one I got internally from HF Group. And this is mainly for my contribution towards the success of our digital platform called HF Wiz. And last year we were able to be the first bank in East and Southern Africa to actually have WhatsApp banking. That's basically payments through the WhatsApp channel. Yeah. What the challenge that I've actually gotten from my panelists, especially Charlie, is around just giving back to the community, because I think sometimes we really forget about where we've come from, whether it's the primary schools we went to, whether it's the high schools we went to. One of the things that we had planned to do this year with some of the guys who were in school together is actually go back to our high school and see how we can mentor the girls in that school in the different professions that we are in. Yeah.
That's quite a great job. You ladies are doing quite nice. We all aspire to be there one time when we grow up a bit more. Yeah. So I'd just like to get some clarity on this. Another question: when you want to transition from an 8 to 5 job to your actual business, how do you go about quitting your job, and how do you go about quitting your job without really damaging like your reputation within the company that you have left?
Okay, I think first you need to have a plan and know where you're going. You just don't quit your job. When you're at that job, you first save up, like have an account for this is for my future business. And then make sure you know exactly when you're quitting, where you're going and what exactly you're going to do. Because there are people who just quit and enter, because when you're in that business, this you see, like if you're in procurement, you see there's a lot of money being spent on print, because this is one of the most mistakes people make. And you're like, I'll start printing company. You just employ people who know about printing. Then you get there and everything is upside down, because you don't understand the industry. There's a lot of jargon. There's a lot of processes that doesn't make sense to you. So you have to be prepared. Personally, I started my business when I was still employed. But the thing about it is I was very honest with all my employers that I'm running this business on the side. There will be no conflict of interest, and you keep your word. That is the other thing. You have to be a person who keeps your word. You don't touch your company's clients. Because I was in the same industry, but you see, the thing is, even if I would get a client, it would be an agreement, like I'm bringing this job, and then they'll see there is commission from it or whatever, then you build yourself slowly. And by being employed, I made sure I understood everything about running a business, because most of the time it looks very easy. Then when you step outside, like for me, the shocker was when I was there, my salary was coming, because I was telling myself, if I'm making all of this, if I was on my own, then how? Then you step outside, you realize there's something called rent, salaries, KRA, all these people waiting for you out there that you never thought about. And then you're like, holy smokes, how am I going to sail through this? So where you're working, make sure you learn, and whatever business that you want to get into, know the ins and outs, and never leave your job in a bad, like don't leave your job in a bad way. Just if it's giving notice, give notice, and live in great relations, because relationships are always there. But when I quit my job, I went back to my former employer to become my business partner. So if I had left badly, you can imagine, because I knew he had something he wasn't using that I needed. So I could trade in, like I'll give you shares, you know how I work. Because also when you work, I always say, when you're working, you work hard, you work smart, you never know who's watching. So in everything that you do, just be cautious. Social capital can actually be something great that you need when you step out of a certain space and in future. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other comment on that?
Maybe I can comment, although I'm still employed. One of the things that I've seen a lot of people make mistakes around is copying other people's, jobs, whether it's a side hustle that you see your friend, it's really working out for them, and you're seeing that if I do exactly what he or she is doing, I'll be able also to be as successful as he or she is. So I think it's very important for you to be very clear about why it is that you want to start that business, yeah, and why you need to quit your job at that particular point, yeah, because it's important for us to do something that you're passionate about. And I can see a lot of passion in Sylvia in terms of what she's doing. Yeah, it's very important for you to be passionate about what it is that you do, so that even when you leave your main source of, your main job into this, maybe yourself to be self-employed, then you're not just taking a risk that you saw somebody else doing. Yeah, because I think there are a lot of ups and downs that business people go through. So you have to be able to sweat that, the ups and downs, and it's easier to sweat that out when you're doing something that you're passionate about.
Thank you for that, Anita. Renee, do you have any other comment?
Well, personally, I was just thinking on, I think it's already been touched though, but it's when you're thinking of quitting, you really need to know what you're getting yourself into. Because I think you can say, I want to be an IT, I'm going to do, sometimes we have those broad ideas, it's not something specific. You can imagine that you're going to make a lot of money doing something in print, but what is it exactly? So you need to really narrow it down and say, this is what I'm focusing on, and make sure that you actually know the ins and outs. Because I think, taking a risk it sounds very romantic. It's a romantic idea, but when it comes to financing you, it's, yeah, it won't be fun, so you really need to do your homework and make sure that you can, yeah, live.
Another question is that how do you work with people who are too comfortable within the work environment? Like they're okay with all the bureaucracy, they're okay with everything, they're okay with how they're treated by their boss, they're just comfortable. While you, as someone who's just gotten in, you're kind of really agitated on what's really happening, and you want to make an impact even within the company or change the company culture. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with everybody around you being comfortable?
I think first, if you're a new person in the firm, understand there's something called company traditions. Understand the why things are done that way before you come out too strong, or before you come out like, also you're here to change things. Who do you think you are? So I could try and understand what the mentality is. Just to give an example, when I one of the places I worked was with Apple. Just before starting my business. And there the mentality when I came in, the way you come and you're being told that boss is like this, don't do this, don't do that. But then also you can choose to be different, because we all have different personalities. And I remember I was the only person who'd sit with all the bosses when they're eating, or enter that room when they're eating, because you have to put yourself where you want to be. If you're supposed to be gaining knowledge, if you're supposed to be understanding things, if you want to be at a certain level, you better start, like I think it's Shamil said this, you better level up to that. Even at that point, because you see now those relations that I built made my environment easier and made me work in that space way better. Yes, you told me how this boss is because that was your experience. I always said, let me make my own relationships, let me make my own experience, and if there is change, you see, that's the only point at which you can even bring the change, because change doesn't come from you only. It's either how you relate with the people who are there, you understand how they're okay with it and why they're okay with it, then you can work from the inside up, or you go to the top, understand it from the top, and shoot those ideas and listen to their thinking, and then you challenge it, and maybe they'll see things your way, but not coming with that attitude of like, you all don't know what you're doing, why do you do things like this? You have to be calm and, as always, strategize. Yes.
I would just like, oh, okay.
No, I saw Renee, you had some kind of facial expression, so I wanted to let you.
I just wanted to say, because as Sylvia is talking, I've just had that experience. I mentioned that I'm the only female in my department, and I'm working in Southeast Asia. It's a totally different culture. Even if I tried to dive into it, I don't think I would get into it enough to, then start my footing. So the best thing is to be confident to be you. If you feel uncomfortable about something, you don't need to fight to make it right. Just be you. There are certain circumstances where you can just be the woman in this place, because that's what the aura you bring into it. The difference that you will bring is what changes. Ultimately, it will also change your environment. It will change how people react to you, because you brought yourself to it, in the sense that you don't have to use your words all the time. Action speaks so much louder than words. When you are able to approach, like what Sylvia said, it's really important. Be able to approach anyone. Don't come with, people tell you, don't talk to this one. When you see this one, just run into your office, sit at the back, and just shh. No, don't do that. Be visible, and be visible in a quiet way. If the person is always, those people who like to be at loggerheads, you can still be visible, but you don't have to be, fighting over it. So I think you really need to think about what you want to bring to the table. What is the footprint that you're going to leave when you leave this organization? And how will they remember you? Not just by name, but what is it you brought to this organization? And what are you willing to to show people that it's not just an organizational culture, but it's when we accept each other. This is what I have brought to the table, and you've got to be able to own it. So you have to live, you know, walk the walk. It's okay. Be different.
So just a quick one to add on to that. One of the things that I do is practice optimism. It doesn't matter wherever I go. I always try to see the best in people. And, you know, when you practice optimism, you're positive and you have energy and you get that back. But when you go with a mind that is pessimistic, then you'll always encounter, you know, hurdles and issues. So be optimistic in all you do. And I'm sure you'll enjoy the new workplace or the new work environment that you'll be put in.
Just to add on to that, I think there's a point that Topi had said earlier about knowing yourself. And this is about knowing what kind of a person you are, knowing your personality. Let me give you an example. One of my primary temperament is that I'm a choleric. For those who know who a choleric is, we are control freaks. We are very opinionated, you know, all those things that usually rub off people the wrong way. So I think it's very important to know yourself from that angle so that you know how to handle certain situations in the organization. Because being a choleric, being very opinionated and thinking that you know everything, then in meetings, in engagements with people in the office, it's very easy for you to rub off people the wrong way. And that usually it's very counterproductive. So at the same time, you also have to remember that the reasons why organizations come together, they bring people with different skill sets together, is for people to be able to work as a team. Yeah, so you have to understand yourself from that angle for you to be able to work together with other people to deliver a common good. So it's not about you knowing everything. It's not about you coming in to change the organization. You cannot do it alone. You need people. You need to have a good working rapport with people, and at the same time, when you have a good working relationship with people, then these people will support you. You know, they will cover you, yeah, and then you'll be able to achieve whatever it is that you set your mind to achieve when you went into that organization. And then this idea, there's an idea that is usually flaunted a lot in organizations, especially big corporates, about perceptions, yeah. So the way Anita relates with Renee is very different from how Renee relates with Sylvia, for example. So when Sylvia now tells me about Renee, because of a perception that she has of her, and I use that as truth, there's already a blind spot. Yeah, and there's no way I'll be able to work with Renee the best way. I'll give you an example. When I left consulting into banking, my first job I had horrible stories about her when I joined the organization. Yeah. And what I made a point to myself not to listen to what other people were saying about her or their perceptions of her. And I embraced her as she was. And I later on found out that the reason why people had this perception of her is just because of her personality and how she wanted things done. She was a worker, and if you didn't work, honestly, you would never get along with her. So the stories I was hearing were from people who were not working, basically. So they rubbed her off the wrong way, and of course they got the hit of it. So as you go into a new organization, the first mindset you should always have is that teamwork. You're bringing a certain skill into the organization, and you're supposed to work with other people for you to deliver common good for the organization. Then don't listen to other people's perceptions of others. Create your own, chart your own ways with the different people that you work with in the organization. And again, know yourself. Know what your strengths are in regard to your personality, your weaknesses in regard to your personalities, and just be aware of that as you interact with people in the organization.
Thank you so much. Michael, you had a few questions too. I think I'll leave you on the floor.
Okay, thank you. So my question to the panel, so far we've discussed just empowering women in tech. Now the next bit is the stereotypes which you face. How do you change the stereotypes that men have of women in tech and women have of other women in tech? How do you approach that challenge?
I think for others, the greatest thing is always know what's coming. All right. They always say, in a tunnel, if you see the light, it can either be the end of it or an oncoming train. So jump on that train in good time. Be 10 steps ahead if you have to, and think without a box. Don't be like Toyota when they were told to think outside the box. They thought like a box and made the Pro box. So just find where the find where the gap is in the space right now. Yeah, if you notice, like there's a time where IT was a big deal, then everyone ran towards IT. Then now it's it's oversubscribed. Just find what makes you unique. Apply what you're good at in that space, and be an innovator. And be the leader. Do not have to always be the one playing catch up, that, oh, this one has been discovered, let me catch up with what is going on. Know what is being discovered and what's coming next. That will put you ahead of the game and create a space for yourself, as in uniquely you. So you'll be a solution provider.
Anyone else want to add on to before I proceed to the next question?
Okay, I think I can add on to that around the stereotypes of women in the corporate world. Some of the stereotypes around women in the working environment is that we are too emotional, we are so soft, we can be pushed around because of those things. And I've experienced this a lot in my working career. So previously I was in consulting for over 10 years, and this made me travel a lot around Africa, doing different developments and deployments in banks. And the perception, I would go into a room to train like probably the exco of a bank, that people who are above 50, and the first impression was always really, really bad. First of all, then I was still very tiny. This chick is coming to train who, and you'd find that most of those excos are full of men, old men. So how do you deal with such kind of stereotypes? I think this goes back to the points we said earlier when we started, is around knowing your stuff. And however it is that the softness that comes with a woman also has a lot of value in corporate environments. Yeah, that touch of a woman also, you find that we mellow a lot of situations that probably would be worse off if we were not in that in those situations. So again, don't be ashamed of being that soft woman that we are known for. But again, how do you make people move out of seeing you as just a soft woman, but just also seeing that even in your softness, there's some value you're bringing to the organization. So it goes back to everything that we had said earlier around knowing your staff, etc.
All right, so just two more questions. I'd like to find out from the panel. So we have during the COVID-19, we've come to see that 70% of the healthcare professionals and the front lines are women, and only 25% of the decision makers within these same processes are women. Now, we don't want IT to have that sort of shift where we have a lot of women in tech, but not a lot of women in leadership of tech. So how do you balance between getting more women into tech and getting more women as leaders of tech?
I think one of the greatest things that comes to the stereotype, back to also the stereotype, the mindset that people have. There's a certain, if you realize, there's usually a certain, in most organizations, there's a certain level of which now women are not passing through. So we need to, I think, embrace the fact that we can also do equally as well, if not better, than the men who are in positions that they are. But there is this mental ceiling that we have, like a glass ceiling. And I think there's a certain fear in women of like, if I get this big job and I still have my family to balance, I still have the kids, I still have to be a wife, I still have to be a husband, and maybe there's a lot of travel, and you're like, how am I going to handle that? And that we allow it to, I'll say it, you allow it to hold you back, in that then when a position like opens up, you do not go for it. Yeah, and for the future generation, the ones who are coming up, what would encourage them is just go for it. Don't second guess yourself. You always find a way of managing and working around it. Because if we are to, like no, I mean, Zoe said, Miss Universe, she said it's time you take up that space. It won't be given to you in a silver platter. You have to go for it. You have to stand up and you have to be hard. And you go for that position when it opens. Don't just sit and think, oh, because I'm a chick, I think there is that space that is being kept for us. That's the easy way out. We need to learn to take up space and embrace that we can do it.
I think one of the additions I can add to what Sylvia has said is around, it's important for one of the challenges that I have encountered as a woman is you need to know how to read the mood of an organization. You need to know how to align yourself with the relevant people in an organization, and not just by aligning yourself, but also as you align yourself, you also better yourself in terms of your skills. Yeah. So, and whenever opportunities present themselves in an organization, take hold of them. One of the things that I've come to realize is that we shy away from such opportunities, or we try to be too nice. You don't want to ask, or you don't want to take up an opportunity that it is right there in your face. So it's important for you to be able to read the organizational mood, align yourself in that particular mode of organization. And by aligning yourself, I'm not talking about women now you start sleeping around with other people in the organization. That's what I'm talking about. It's aligning yourself with your skills. Yeah. So if an organization is taking a certain tangent in regard to strategy, if an organization is embracing maybe now digital transformation agenda, align yourself by understanding what that is all about, how your skills contribute to that shift in strategy, yeah, and then making yourself known as an expert in that area. If the strategy shifts in another direction, then align yourself in that direction. Prepare yourself for that shift in the organization, and with that, you'll be able now to see yourself grow slowly but surely into those leadership roles. Yeah. And I think that's one of the key traits that men have that a lot of women struggle with, that aligning yourself with changing strategies in an organization.
I think for me, one of the things that I'm able to do very well is travel and still make time for my family. So one important thing when you're choosing a career or when you're going into your career, make sure you have a good support system. I travel a lot, and for some friends, they think I'm never there for my children, I never have time. But again, I decided I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I love my job. I enjoy what I'm doing. So what I did is actually go an extra mile in, supporting my nanny to be that extra, of, version of me. So you find that every year we looked at development goals for her. So every year we come up with a plan on what areas she can improve in, so that to make my life easier as I juggle around with my work in East and West Africa and Europe. So that's very important. Number two, when it comes to private matters, is choosing the right partner. For ladies, one of the things that Sheryl Sandberg said is, the right guy would make or break your career. So it is important to choose a person who's going to support your dreams and who's going to support you as you even go into motherhood, and at the same time you want to go into leadership positions. You need a supportive spouse, because a happy woman then is able to thrive. If you're not happy at home, then it's difficult to be happy at work. So have people to support you, raise your children. In my case, it's Ndoko. I love her so much. And then, of course, have the right partner who will support your dreams. And then you'll be amazed at the doors that will open up for you. As long as you're happy, you're passionate about what you're doing, then I'm sure you will go places. You will go into those leadership positions. Remember, as much as we are women, for those ladies in the call, we are still expected to deliver just like the men, or even more. So you cannot just say, okay, well, now I'm a mother, I can take a back seat. No, you need to find out a way on how to juggle your job, juggle motherhood, and have time, of course, for God and all the other activities. So make time, have a timetable. I have a timetable that starts at 4:30 a.m. and I go to bed by 8, 9. April knows that. By 9, if she calls me, I'm out. But basically, make time for everything. At the same time, I'm a mother. I'm also doing a doctorate, so I still have to make time for studies. And what I just want to encourage you guys is just plan yourself, organize yourself, or align yourself. And then everything will just sort of fall into place. Yeah.
Thank you, Juliet.
Thank you.
That's amazing. What you shared. I'm in university and working, so I'm really challenged and inspired.
All right, so as we wind up, as you can see by Charlie's background, we should be winding up. It's pretty dark already. Renee, would you like to close the session for us?
Okay. I was going to close on adding a different note. I just wanted to mention for those, especially because we are mentoring, I wanted to mention that I am a missionary. So what I'm doing is passion, what I love to do. I'm not striving for others here. They have become successful business people, but that may not be your avenue. You can do what you love, not because you have money or you're going to make a name for yourself. And that's another aspect of thinking of success. When you do what you love and you make your footprint, no one will forget the lady who brought the best she could. So I just want to, make that for you to know. It's not about where, even like right now, we have women who are in powerful places, but nobody knows them because they're just there. And they're not, it's not out of passion. They just landed there and they're just thinking, when will I leave? When will I leave? We can change that. So if you have the passion, you start off on the right note, wherever it is that you will be placed. And I believe God has placed me here. I can make that difference, whatever little, however big, but I will make a difference. So I just want to thank all our wonderful ladies, powerful stories, so inspiring. I feel like starting over again. Thankfully, I'm already in IT, so I don't have to start again. But it's really good to have had this experience. And I just hope that all, Ayan, your friends and your colleagues, be inspired to know it's a step at a time. And don't think your journey is, going to be the same as someone else. Make your own journey, but make a definite step. Don't try to shadow someone else. That's how we make mistakes. But do your best, make your steps. And I think God will bless us all in, whatever angle we're taking. So thank you so much. Thank you for all the invaluable information. I tell you, people pay money for this. Maybe next time we will charge. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you so much. Yes. By the way, it's 11:30 midnight here.
Oh, wow.
That's why I'm not wearing red lipstick. And yeah, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Good night.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.